You're live.
We are live. Welcome to episode 117 of Pillar Talk. This episode is brought to you by Flashback Antique and Crafts, Muggsy's Grill and Bar, Monroe Sports Center, and Ruthless Pro Wrestling. Without further ado, this is episode 117. We got Kyle Collison from Knockouts and Three Counts. What's up, brother? How are you? And
what up, Doe?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, man, I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate the time, all that good stuff. Yeah, man, I'm just another kid out here talking my shit like everybody else. I got a show called Knockouts and Three Counts. We'll talk pro wrestling, MMA, boxing, all that kind of good stuff. Like I said, man, we go all over the place. We've had everybody from this past Thursday. We had Britton Hart, who was on the show, that's getting ready for her rematch with Beck Rawlings of formerly a UFC and Bellator. We've also had the likes of DDP to Booker T to Stevie Ray and everything in between, dude. So, like I said, it's you never know where it goes. I mean, I just got back from Vegas. I'm glad I got some of that Vegas weather back here in Michigan now, so I'm not freezing my balls off. So we're not doing too bad, man.
Oh, hell yeah. How'd you guys like Vegas? What'd you guys go
Hey,
down
Vegas. Good thing you asked that. Yeah, we went down there for AEW Double or Nothing. We got a whole vlog of that on our page. If you guys are on YouTube or Facebook or any of that stuff, just search Knockouts and Three Counts. But yeah, man, I got to go down there and train a little bit at Extreme Couture. Got to see my friend and past guest of the show, Gil Gordado, and got to go in there right after he was finishing up training one John Moxley in there. So it was a good time to go in there, go kick it, do that. Went and checked out GCW Spiral, watched Blake Christian tear Matt Cardona's bicep. Yeah, man, we went to Rampage, went to Double or Nothing, got to go inside the Blue Wire Studios inside the Wynn Hotel down there. It was cool.
What's the history behind Knockouts and Three Counts?
So
Tell us how it started.
Sure. Yeah, I always wanted to do broadcasting. It was always something I wanted to do. But I started in college a little bit, and then you know how stuff happens. Like, I just started working and all that. Never really happened. 2017, I work at the post office full time. That's my shoot job. But yeah, man, I was at the post office working full time, and it's like you're making money, you're not doing anything. Like, you're working midnights. And you're making money, and that's cool, but like, what do you got to show for it? So, I got tired of everybody being on opposite schedules. So I just decided, all right, well, I'm going to go to WrestleMania. So I went to WrestleMania 33 completely by myself. I flew down there by myself, went to all the shows by myself. And it was one of the best experiences of my life, dude. Like, it was the first time I really traveled, on my own. Proved to myself, a lot of things, even just down to like knowing that you'll be good if you're in another city. You know what I mean? And I went down there, did all that stuff, and had a great time. When I came back, we all used to watch the pay-per-views at Bailey's in Dearborn. We used to watch the pay-per-views there, all that stuff. My buddy Devin, who's still with the show, but life gets in the way. He's back here in Michigan, so you might be seeing a return from him soon. But Devin was the original one that came to me, and we talked about it. And like, obviously we were both big fans of wrestling, but I didn't know that he had, that he was a big fan of MMA. He said he'd been to like 20 UFCs. Now, a little bit about my background, I've been boxing since I was 13 years old. I'll be 30 this year. I grew up with cerebral palsy and Crohn's disease, so I couldn't cut with scissors, couldn't tie my shoes, couldn't write my name. I had to wear braces, all those things. So I've been around fighting for a long time. And so the mix of us being wrestling fans and, my background in fighting and being fight fans, that's kind of where it originated from. And then it was kind of just one of those things where, like, as we went, originally when we started, like, you couldn't it was tough to even get anybody on the show, you know what I mean? Like, get guests and all those things. Like, to be honest, Comic-Cons and things like that were one of the big things that really helped us, kind of start to get guests. I mean, I'll never forget Astronomicon 20 must have been 2018 or 2019. We interviewed Booker T, Bruce Pritchard, Eric Bischoff all in one day. And then it was just like, okay, well, these guys are regular people. There's no reason that I can't, interview these people. You know what I mean? And what up, Doe? But yeah, that's kind of where it came, and it's kind of, blossomed from there. And now at this point, pandemic, kind of forced a lot of change on a lot of people. So now I am the main host at this point, but you've got J Bone and Corey with me, and you never know when you'll see Devin and the original four in there with us either.
Oh, no way. So how did COVID affect knockouts and 3 counts? Because you said it was 6 years old, right?
Yep.
You've been doing it for 6 years. So how did
No, I take it back 17, so 22, 5 years. All right.
Okay.
My math sucks.
Because we started during like the lockdown. Like that's how our stuff started. It was like still in the middle of the lockdown when we started Brain Jerk. So how did you guys take because you guys were already established, how did you guys take the lockdown?
So lockdown was tough on us in general because we had already taken a hit before pandemic ever really got going, because Devin, like I said, the original four. So it was me, it was Devin, it was Kyle, it was Kevin. So Kyle and Kevin, were never really ever able to be there as much as me and Devin were. And Devin, works for GM, so he moved to Dallas when they closed some of the plants and things. So he was working out there, and he was doing it from Dallas. And then, he was on midnights and all that stuff. So it kind of screwed up his scheduling. And then he got engaged and's got a kid now. So between that and trying to keep up with family and all that, that kind of screwed that up. And then, so when you add pandemic to that, I lost my dad at the beginning of pandemic. So between being locked up like everybody was and all that stuff, it was like you had one of two options. Well, we were in a studio at Podcast Detroit. Shout out to Podcast Detroit. Without them, there wouldn't be a knockouts and 3 counts. But when pandemic closed and everybody couldn't go in the studio and all those things, it's like, well, I've been doing this for 4.5 years at this point, so are you going to let it die, or what are you going to do? And mind you, this is all coming off of, I got to do StarCast 3 and 4. So that's where I got to interview DDP. And like, I'm coming off of getting to interview all these people. And you're like, now I'm finally getting to do some of the shit that I want to do. Am I going to stop now because of the pandemic and all that stuff? So like we were talking about before we went live, we made the room in the house, did that, and then it's all been trial and error, man. Just kind of figured it out as you went. But pandemic really put a halt on things, because even though I can talk on things like these, as I'm sure you guys can attest to, it's one thing to do something when you're comfortable doing it all the time. I've been doing this stuff for a while, but I'm not like, if I feel comfortable with you, I can talk to anybody. But at the same time, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to like just out there and push my stuff on everybody. You know what I mean? So like, the podcast it was one thing when it was me and Devin. So like we would go up and, whether it was Booker T or whoever it was, talking to people to get them to come on the show. It's one thing when you got somebody else to do it. When you don't have that somebody there to do it with you anymore, and you're the one who's doing it, it's it's a little nerve-wracking when you're talking about either A, people that you've watched your whole life, or B, people that you don't know, or whatever the case is. So that, I guess, would be the biggest thing that COVID really affected on me, was I became more of the rudder of the ship at that point, because it came more on me. And then I'm the one who brought in J Bone and Corey, which Corey and I have known each other for 20 years at this point. So like I said, I brought in other people because some of the original guys kind of aren't around as much. So like I said, it's just a lot when you go from, it's like 6 of you to like, now you're the one like rudder in the ship.
Yep. Oh, dude, how do you balance that? How did you balance that at the time when you started running the ship? How did you get over it? Because it's still alive, so you didn't quit. How did you get through that bullshit?
Well, man, I mean, to be honest, my life, like I said, has always kind of had a lot of that. Like, I mean, like I said, I grew up with cerebral palsy and Crohn's disease. So, like, when I was a kid, I couldn't cut my shoes or
Like,
cut with scissors, tie
cut
my
paper,
shoes,
yeah,
write my name. Yeah, I couldn't do a lot of those things. I couldn't, I was supposed to be in special ed school. Hell, I was never supposed to live in the first place. So,
right.
like, for me, I've always had obstacles. Let's just put it that way. And so for me, like as far as the show goes, it's like I know this is going to sound corny because like all of us, including you guys, want to continue to grow. And by no means am I saying, "Oh yeah, man, like what I'm doing is
Right.
so awesome." You know what I mean? Like I'm at the pinnacle or nothing like that because I'm not. I'm still working a full time job while I do this stuff. But really, what it is it's like the podcast for me has not only become a creative outlet, it's also like it's one of the first things I've gotten to do where like I've really seen like some of the fruits of my labor really like pay off. When you think about like last year here it was a big milestone for us. So we've had people from every major wrestling company there is in the world right now, whether you're talking New Japan, WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, WCW, ECW, all that shit. Uh we got to have Jimmy Smith from Monday Night Raw come on a few months ago. And that was really cool because that was like kind of cracking that last fourth wall for us and getting somebody that was active on the WWE roster. And so it just like for me, it's kind of like it's like a roller coaster. It's got its ups, its downs, and then you'll get to do something really cool, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, I'm excited to keep going. And then in a few weeks, when I'm working 50 hours a week and still trying to put out these shows, and people don't want to answer messages, well, then I'll be back down here again, and I'll be like, fuck, I don't know how I want to do this stuff. So it's really kind of a up and down thing. It's got its ebbs and flows.
But you keep that head pointed forward, keep that chin up though. You always get through with it, and it's still going on 6 years later through all the bullshit. And that says a lot, man. And shit, dude, I just got the motivation. We kind of use this podcast for like a therapy, get my word out, or like for me, I was going through a tough time. I learned how to fight through a motorcycle accident. And I had a three year recovery process and stuff in and out of hospitals and shit. And that's where I found the strive to go. And Josh is just the force feeder. And like you said, you don't want to like force feed the people. That's how we got to where we're going. We're just giving it to them every day, throwing something in there. There's something for you to eat. You don't have to eat it every day, but I mean, the motivation of you keep going that's strong. That says a lot about you, your person.
I respect that, bro, and likewise. I mean, like I said, I mean, for me, it's kind of one of those things. Like I get asked those kind of things a lot just because of my health stuff. Like nothing even to like do with the show, but like, dude, at the end of the day, when you grow up that way, like you got one of two options. This is the hand I was dealt. Either you're gonna sit, bitch, and complain about it, or you're gonna figure out, okay, what can I do? What can I not do? What if I'm going to do something that's gonna give me an issue? How can I work my way around that? Like how can I do what I want to do? And then here's a bigger thing that I've really been coming to grips with even now. Like I'm going to be 30 here in a few months, and one of the biggest things that's really been coming to my mind a lot, and has been reiterated to me a lot too, is like I think when you deal with a lot of like the health stuff and all that kind of stuff, you get this mindset where like, oh, well, maybe I want too much because I want to go do all the podcast stuff. Or maybe I want too much because I want to have like all the things everybody else does, like a marriage and kids and all that kind of stuff and whatever. This can go to anything you're talking about,
Yep.
whatever it is that you want out of life. But at the same time, it's like, you know what? Okay, so yeah, I got all these health issues. Maybe maybe I got my way of life is a little bit different than other people, but I mean, that's when you have to stop and look and be like, dude, for 30 years old, I've gotten to do shit that most people that are 50 have it done.
Yep.
I've chased a passion that I've had most of my life with broadcasting and all those things. I've gotten to meet people that I've watched my whole life through wrestling and fighting. I've gotten to train with people from all over the world, and on top of that, it's like I did all that while you have health issues. And I said all that just to say it's like growing up like that breeds a mindset in you. Well, it's like, well, this is the hand I was dealt. Again, you can either bitch or complain, or you
Yep.
can figure out how to make it work. And ultimately, that's each and every person's, decision to make. You got to decide what you want to do. But like I said, for me, I just realized that, you know what, I deserve the same stuff that everybody else does, whether it's marriage, kids, whatever you want to talk about. I deserve that the same way you deserve that, same
Yep.
way everybody else deserves that. So you know what? Until I have that, that doesn't mean that I'm behind everybody else. It just means my path took, a different path than everybody else.
Yeah, longer. You're going after this dream. You're accomplishing this dream every
American
fucking.
dream, kind of like one of
Yeah.
those. You know that? It's funny what
Yeah.
you did there.
um Dude, how I got through everything is I found out that if you dwell in the negative, you're gonna stay negative, and everything's gonna be negative. And if everything that negative that happens to you, there is always a positive outlook for you to go through. There's always a little light that you can open that hole up, and you can fucking thrive through anything, dude. That's how I get through it every day.
Hey, respect that, dude. Like I said, everybody's got their own struggles, and that's the other thing I'm realizing, dude. Like as you get older and as you start to go through life, you realize like even if people don't, necessarily vocalize everything that they've got going on, dude. Like we've all got, different things that you're struggling with, different things that are bugging you. You could see something that reminds you of somebody else in your life and just hit you weird, and you could be in a weird funk. So, like, at the end of the day, like, I just realized everybody's got their own shit. I might not agree with, everything that everybody does, but you know what? I just try to remember that, like, something that I try to live by, like, is like, if always try to look out for the other person because you don't know what they got going on. But more importantly, look out for, if you can't be cool to other people, then how can you ever expect for any of that to ever come back in return?
Yep. Yep. Give what you get. Um, so growing up with cerebral palsy and Crohn's disease, you said that you couldn't tie your shoes, cut paper, but you run a whole podcast now and carry a full-time job. How did you overcome that? Like, let us know a little
Uh,
bit.
if I'm being honest, like a lot of that credit's got to go to my mom, like straight up, dude. Like, they told my mom I wasn't supposed to live. Then when I was born, then they told my mom, oh, he's got to go to a special ed school and all this, whatever. But it's I, as far as getting through it, I would say my mom had a big thing to do with it. God had a big thing to do with it for me. Like I said, everybody believes their own, believes in what they believe in. For me, I don't know, man. Having that stuff created this. I've always had this drive to feel like I needed to prove myself because I've played every sport from baseball, football, basketball. Um, I've been fighting since I was 13. Like we're not talking about, and then I always get the stupid ass questions that people will ask, like, oh, were you fighting in like special needs boxing? Or dude, I've been fighting full grown men since I was 13 years old. I've trained with guys that you've seen in every one of those big promotions, and again, I'm not saying that I'm on their level, but what I'm saying is it's like I always had that drive to just prove that I could do those things. You know what I mean? And so that's really what it was for me. And to be honest, I never really planned on, before I got into doing what I'm doing now with the podcast stuff. I was really heavy in working with kids with disabilities for a while. I've spoken at the Children's Miracle Network. I spoke at, the Motor City Gala down at Motor City Casino for that when they had Fox 2 down there and all that kind of stuff. And I always tried to like kind of not hide it because you couldn't hide it, but I tried to like, I never wanted that to be what I was known for. You know what I mean? Like I never associated myself with like a lot of people who had like disabilities and things like that, because I didn't want anyone to be looking at me like I had something wrong with me. Yeah, sure, I had my issues, but I didn't, I didn't want nobody to feel sorry for me, for lack of a better way to put it. I never have been one that wanted somebody to like, oh, it's okay and all that. Dude, fuck that. I don't
Right.
need that. I've never needed that. But ironically, through fighting, I was training with a good buddy of mine, Miles Jury, who fought in the UFC for 7 years. He's currently signed with Bellator. I've known Miles since before Miles ever was in the UFC, since I was 16 years old. He was 19 years old. And, I've seen him go all through that. And I'll never forget, I was training with him and a buddy of ours to get ready, help him get ready for a fight. And we were doing Shark Tank. And so he went to go take me down. I went to defend a single leg takedown, went to pull my leg out. When I went to pull my leg out, he yanked back the other way and I felt my knee pop. And I had already had surgery on that leg because my left side was the side that was more affected due to my CP. So I had perk surgery in my senior year of high school. So I basically had to learn how to walk again, and I was in a cast and all that kind of stuff. Luckily, there was no major damage to my knee, but the point of what I'm getting at is that because of that, I went to go see my doctor who I'd had since I was a kid for my CP. And in going there, they just so happened to be starting an exercise group for kids with disabilities and all those kind of things. And so it started with, I was helping with it. Then I helped run it, to then they started bringing me in to like mentor kids with disabilities. And I even got the opportunity to take some of them in with me and train with me in jiu-jitsu and things like that. And some of the things that I'm most proud of on this earth are the fact that I've been able to help a lot of kids with those things. And whether it through working with my doctor or at the church or whatever, like, I don't know, as I've gotten older, I've just kind of gotten to a point where I don't like go out of my way trying to act like I'm Joe Jesus or somebody, or like, or Eric Thomas or whatever you want. But at the same time, if I can help somebody or something that I went through in my life, whether it be my health or whatever it is, if somebody else can look at that and be like, yo, that was dope that he made it through that, or you know what, get some kind of inspiration off that, or
Yep.
it can leave the world in a better place, or bring more awareness to some of the bullshit that happens in this world that we're living in, which clearly we've got plenty of it, then at least in a way, it almost kind of makes some of the bullshit I dealt with worth it.
You're a voice. You can live. You're a voice for these kids. You can live a normal life and have these issues. And you had to tell me you had CP and Crohn's disease for me to know, bro. For real, like even watching your podcast, the same thing. It's like I didn't once you told me, I was like, holy shit, what?
Thanks, man.
Yeah. And I mean, I was gonna ask you the struggles you overcame to making like to keeping knockouts and 3 counts running, but you've been doing it your whole life, bro. You're just a fucking superhero, bro, for all these kids, bro. You for real. That's good that you're spreading your story. You're getting your word out, man. I appreciate you for that. That is great.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And
well, it's especially because we've got a friend that's got CP, and he loves MMA. He loves wrestling. He loves everything that we love.
Yep.
And he wants to be at all the events that we're at. And it's just like, this dude wants to be a part of the podcast and all sorts of things. So it's just an inspiration for him. It's trust me, this episode is going to do something.
Yeah. First thing we're doing is going to show it to our buddy. The first thing.
Hell yeah, man. Reach out to me if you see it. My social media is on all these things. My DMs are open, dude. Like I said, I mean, like I said, that's what's crazy with doing this podcast stuff, dude, is like, I'm just a regular guy like you guys, dude. I work full time at the post office, dealing with the same bullshit that everybody else does, working your 9 to 5 and doing all that stuff. But it's crazy to think that something that we started out of my buddy's kitchen is gotten to the point where, like, dude, we went to Vegas for AEW Double or Nothing. That's what we were down there for. And literally now I've been to Vegas twice in the last year, and I've had people from other states stop me because they know about our show. whether it be Texas or the last time we were there, some kid from Michigan spots me in the bar. Shout out to my buddy Johnny at Nerd Bar on Fremont Street. If you're in Vegas, you need to go check out Nerd Bar. Yeah, man, we're in there and this dude stops me. He's like, "You're from Knockouts and Three Counts," and I'm fucking talking to Sabu. And this dude stops to say something about my show when I'm sitting here talking to fucking Sabu, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, that's crazy to think that somebody, you know, like, and that's the thing. You don't know the reach of what you do and what you say and how it goes everywhere. So, like, that's been the biggest thing that's been so crazy about this thing is, like, I know for a fact that every week we have people that watch from Canada, from Florida, from Vegas, from Texas, from Michigan, obviously. So it's, like, crazy to think that me running my mouth on the other side of a camera or, you know, whatever the case is can, you know, get to that many people. So like you said, man, like any chance I get to bring those kind of things up, you know, it's crazy. So because you're talking about these kind of stories, I'll bring this up since we're talking about the podcast. One of my favorite podcasts that I've gotten to do so far, bar none. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, my dad died at the beginning of pandemic, but the last concert that my dad and I were supposed to go to, we were going to Five Finger Death Punch and Rob Zombie. I'll never forget. I mean, yeah, well, you're gonna like the story then. So we were on the way to that. I was still working midnights at the time, so I was getting off like 10:30, but you know, I couldn't fall asleep that day. Obviously, we had to leave about like 4 or 5 to go to the show. So bought tickets, told my dad, hey, you know, I'll get tickets if you drive out there so that I can sleep on the way back, you know, to go to work. Okay, well, my dad, and it's not speaking badly of him, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I won't go into all the details, but we were driving. I knew something was off that day. Don't know. And again, but on the way there, my dad totaled the truck on the way to the concert. I still ended up going to said concert. It's crazy how small this world is and the way social media works, and it can be a beautiful thing sometimes when it works this way. A buddy of mine that I've trained with since I was about 14 years old, a guy named Justin James, fought in the UFC. He's from here. He's one of the coaches at Extreme Couture in Vegas. It just so happens that he trains Chris Cale from Five Finger Death Punch. I interviewed Justin for his last fight in the UFC, which that one was crazy because he bet his whole purse on himself to win too. So that's a good episode for you to go back and check out in the archives. But Chris Cale saw that episode. He heard the story. He retweeted the clip that I put out of that episode. Mind you, said clip had nothing to do with my dad, and retweets it and goes, so wait a minute. You guys crashed on the way to the show at DT and still came to the show. He was like, I'll come on your guys' show whenever you want. Like, that's crazy. And and you could tell he'd been listening because he also heard my buddy tell his Steel Panther story. He's like, yeah, and a dope ass Steel Panther story at 20 minutes in. So you knew he'd been watching it. And so ever since, we've just gotten to stay cool. I was bummed in Vegas because we were supposed to link up while we were out there, but it didn't end up working out. But I'm really hoping that when they come to Detroit here, when Five Finger comes back, we can make that happen, because it also is crazy because one of my jiu-jitsu coaches also trains with Zoltan from Five Finger Death Punch. And it's ironic that we had Chris on because originally Zoltan was supposed to be on the show with us. And that didn't end up working out because how things go. And then later on, we ended up having Chris anyway. So that's it's crazy how small this world is.
Now, when they come to Detroit, you can get Zoltan.
That's the idea. Either him or Chris. Give me 1 second. I plugged this charger in.
All right, bro. Oh, man. What a good story. This is great.
All right.
Where's
damn laptop wants to die?
Where's some of the places that you traveled doing knockouts and 3 counts?
So I've been to Dallas for WrestleMania. I've been to Dallas quite a few times because of the pandemic now.
That's because your boy lives there, right?
Well, that, but we also sponsored Mission Pro Wrestling, which is ran by, I don't know, this lady you might know, Thunder Rosa. Hey, that guy. Hey, I know that guy. That's one of my co-hosts on the show. What up, J-Bone? Yeah, man. J-Bone was out with me in Vegas. He got to take his first trip with the show and all that good stuff. We went out to Vegas, but yeah, I got to go to Dallas for we went there and we sponsored Thunder Rosa's promotion, Mission Pro, the first time Dave LaGreca from Busted Open was there, and he got beat up and all that stuff. And so Dallas, Vegas. Last year I got to go to Jacksonville with past guest of our show, Mega Ran. Shout out to the homie. He took me to Revolution, so I got to go to Revolution for free last year, which again, because of a podcast that I'm running, it's fucking mind blowing that I'm getting to go to some of this shit for free, or some of the people that we've gotten to meet. Like when we went down to Dallas, Mega Ran came in Sunday and was with me, dude. And like getting to meet the likes of like Xavier Woods, Rhea Ripley, Kofi Kingston, Zelina Vega, Liv Morgan. Like I would never be meeting these people like in this setting had it not been for the show. You know what I mean? So like it's crazy to think that something that we're doing can do that. I mean, Chicago, we went to Chicago last year for All Out when CM Punk came back. We were there for that. I might be headed down to Chicago since J-Bone, since you're in here, you know, we might be making a run down to a Forbidden Door in Chicago soon. So like I say, we've been all over the place.
What's the craziest thing you've seen in your travels? Have you ever, before we go, have you ever went international?
I'd like to, if Canada counts, but I mean, Canada's kind of close for us, but
Canada counts, bro. That counts.
Well, we've done international stuff, not necessarily for the show, but I've been to Bellator at Windsor a few times. But the craziest thing, so we've just had, I mean, I guess I could go off of like funniest stories. I mean, dude, we've had like so this tattoo that I never can show you on the camera because where it's at on my arm, the knockouts and 3 counts one on my arm. Shout out to past guest of our show, Lindsay Snow, the American Kaiju, who did that for me. Dude, so we went down there to Jacksonville. We go down there to Jacksonville. I paid for my flight and all that, but again, Mega Ran hooked it up with tickets, and it just so happened to be that he made the theme song for that year's Revolution. So it was cool as a friend to be there and go down there and you know, do that with him. But we're down there and he's cool with all kinds of people. So we're chilling, about to go get my tattoo done, and then who walks through the door? But whose house? It was Swerve's house, apparently, because Swerve come kick it with us. And, you know, he knew Lindsay and Lindsay had tattooed him. So he came with us to the tattoo shop and he's showing us pictures of his pig, which is fucking huge these days. And, you know what I mean? Like just some of the places you find yourself in, like you never would have thought. Like, okay, here's one for you. So from just this past year's WrestleMania, I was down there Thursday to Tuesday. We went to Wale Mania, which if you go down to WrestleMania weekend, I highly recommend it. Damn good time. But when we went down there, I went to the For the Culture show because I went to check out some of our past guests, went to check out, shout out to the homie Shane Taylor and Shane Taylor Promotions. They were going to war with, I don't know, some people you might have saw on SmackDown from Hit Row. You know, AJ Francis and O'Shea Edwards and Shane were taking on AJ Francis and what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank on his I know his real name. They were going by Tahuti Miles, but you know, Hit Row, they went with them for the culture. Well, I got to meet up with MVP of all people. Here's a little fact for MVP that most people don't realize. MVP is a world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I made it a point to want to talk to him about Jiu-Jitsu because most people don't know how much he trains and all that. We got to talk about that, you know, talk about me boxing a little bit. And he's like, yeah, you know, with your CP, you know, that's probably Jiu-Jitsu is probably easier, which he's right. But I was like, dude, I've been fighting full grown men since I was 13. I've knocked dudes out with CP, and his eyes got as big as saucers. Fast forward to when Mega Ran gets here, he's staying at the Omni, which happens to be the hotel that all the talent are staying at. So we go in there and he's introducing me to MVP, and MVP's like, yeah, we met. Fast forward to Monday, because Mega Ran went with me to night 2 of WrestleMania. Devin was with me at night 1. We go to Monday Night Raw. We fucked around, which was fully my fault. Fucked around and waited too long to get tickets, and so we ended up in the nosebleeds. Well, it just so happened that my homie, which if you guys are from here in Detroit and are fans of hip hop, you should check out my buddy Ken Brass at Sound Off Sundays. We went to go take a picture with the ring in the back before we went upstairs, and it just so happened it was Ken's section. He's like, bro, he's like, I moved over to these to the wheelchair accessible, so I had more knee room. They can't resell these, so then we moved down to the 100 level. Well, when we saw MVP at the bar, MVP wanted Mega Ran to help him with this project that he's got going on and all this. So Mega Ran shoots him a text. Literally, as he's walking to the ring to turn on Bobby Lashley, we get a text with 2 tickets, and they moved me 2 rows off the floor. And then we run into him at the bar after Raw. Let me tell you, he drinks some expensive ass whiskey, bro. Like 3 shots of whiskey cost $65. Now, it could have been because we were in a hotel too, but we weren't drinking Jack Daniels.
Yeah. That's
3
shots, $65.
You ain't kidding.
Is that even a buzz?
I mean, it'll put some hair on your chest.
All right. Do you mess with any independent wrestling promotions?
Of course, dude. That's the thing. We're one of the few that'll bring you all of the big promotions to the indies. We just had Uncle Chase Burnett was just on the show with us Tuesday last week to talk about his big match with Matt Cross and Jack Evans and all them going down at AIW. We've been I was at, like I said, GCW Spiral while we were down there in Vegas. We've had the likes of Ninja Max been on the show. Let's see. Had everybody from Ninja Mac to Masada just came on to I mean, dude, we go all over the place. We started with the indies, so the indies are never gonna not be involved. Our buddy El Rudo de las Chicas, Sam Adonis, has been on the shows with us multiple. Gringo Loco just came through a couple weeks ago. It was good to see him in Vegas. We got to link up with him down there. Yeah, man. That was like when pandemic started, that was one of the reasons I flew down to Texas. We went and worked with our buddy Kyle at Pele Pro in Dallas. And they were doing the independent wrestling expo and all that stuff. That's how we got to be cool with somebody who I consider to be a friend as much as a past guest to the show. But Miranda Gordy, you might know her pops, Terry Gordy of the Fabulous Freebirds. So, we fuck with the indies heavy. We're still on the regional scene for MMA and boxing all the time as well.
What city are you guys out of?
I'm out of Taylor, but I mean basically the Detroit area.
You've been to any RPW shows?
Yes, sir. I was at the last show they just did. RPW at Circle 6. Yeah.
Remember when we were leaving and I went and fist bumped a dude right before we left? That was him.
Oh, no shit.
Yep, moly. I was there. Shout out to the homie Chris, man. Chris has been on the show
that night. I blacked out.
Yeah, shout out to Chris for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, shout out to Chris and D-Mac, man.
Oh, D-Mac. I love D-Mac. What about, are you going to the circus?
So we've had a lot of people asking about that. If I'm in Michigan, I will be there for sure. I may have to take another one of those trips, but that all depends on circumstances. But if I'm in Michigan, I very much so plan on making it for at least one of the days because Darren was all over me. He's like, bro, you got to come to the circus. It's like, all right, man. Like, so I'm trying to tell Corey and all them, Corey is a connoisseur of the herbal. And so I was like, man, D-Mac's having a smoke out and all that stuff. You haven't come to any of the shows when we ended up linking up with him. So come on, man.
All the D-Mac's having a smoke out. They're roasting a pig. Dude, we're going to be there both days. It's going to be sick.
That's right in
Yeah,
our city too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, dude. Like I say, if I'm in Michigan, I plan on being there.
Hell yeah. Where what city would you be in if you're not in Michigan?
So mainly, I'm almost always in Michigan, but if some things may play out, I may be at Money in the Bank.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah, dude. I don't follow WWE a lot anymore. What's going on in that promotion?
I mean, dude, honestly, they just took a huge hit. We've been talking about this a bunch on our show, especially with us being at Double or Nothing and all that. But man, that shit with Cody, dude, like I feel like is like the talk of like mainstream
The
wrestling
world.
as a whole. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you got to give that guy credit at the end of the day, because I'm not gonna lie. When I heard that he was going back to WWE, I'm like, damn. Number one, shit's got to clearly be more. There's got to be more to what's going on than clearly what meets the eye, because you would think with him being an EVP and all that stuff with AEW that would be like the cush spot. So when I heard he was going to WWE, I'm like, damn, that's interesting. And if they do that, obviously, what most all of us would have thought, is WWE going to bury him because he's AEW? Sorry about that, but
Bless you.
thank you, sir. But yeah, man, like that's been really cool to me. I'm very interested to see like how they're gonna have to kind of pivot. I think that's kind of why we saw the Judgment Day come to an abrupt 360 with Edge and all them. I think they needed a baby face. I think that's why they broke the glass and are bringing John Cena back. But I don't know, man. Wrestling as a whole, it's got its ebbs and its flows, because it's like I'll be honest with you, on the other side of things, with AEW having been there at Double or Nothing and all that, I think AEW is going to have some major changes soon too, dude. Because I mean, the one thing that nobody wants to talk about is the fact that they are going to have the same problem that WWE's had. Now, granted, I don't think that AEW is going to go on like a mass purging spree like the WWE did, but I mean, they got a lot of people who don't get to get used. I think when more of those contracts come out, you're going to see a lot more people move. And I think it's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be a lot bigger people than people expect.
What's okay? This is really interesting me now. What's going on? Didn't Cody Rhodes start AEW or help start AEW?
Yep.
And he went back to wrestling. I heard he went back to WWE to get the WWE championship because that was his goal or something.
No, he wanted it because of this, dude. I mean, I should have knew at WrestleMania, and oh my God. So it's funny you talk about RPW. So if you guys are on social media, make sure you're following me there and at KO3C Pod, and make sure you're following these fine gentlemen. But I just shot a message to somebody who you guys saw at RPW, one M-Dog Matt Cross. Hopefully I can bring him to knockouts and 3 counts soon, but it's funny. I was standing in the merch line at WrestleMania, and he was literally standing directly to my left when I bought this shirt, and what's so fucking dumb about it, right, is it's night one, and everybody's like, is Cody going to show up, blah, 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 whatever. There was a big-ass sign of this shirt, of that picture of his dad. And I thought about it afterwards, and I'm like, so that didn't tip your dumbass off that he was about to come out? Or why the hell else would they all of a sudden just randomly have 2 new vintage Dusty Rhodes shirts right. on the thing at WrestleMania? So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it shocked me too. And shout out to the damn arena there, Jerry World in Dallas. I missed the very first part of his entrance because them lines for their concessions sucked ass.
So you mentioned MVP earlier. He's got a big fight coming up.
I did. I was actually talking about Montel Vontavious Porter, the one who's with Omos. But I did see that. We were just talking about that with Britt and Hart. MVP coming over to come fight Mike Perry. So I really like this fight, but here's the thing. Anyone that's watched MVP knows that MVP is a very elusive person. He doesn't really get into like the bang 'em out wars like that. I think that this fight, it all depends on how this fight can be played. If MVP can use his range, he'll be able to pick apart Mike Perry. But if it goes the way I kind of have a sneaking feeling that I think it might, with the clinching and all that, if Mike Perry can make this fight a dirty fight, it might be a bad time for MVP. And think of it this way. I feel like all the pressure is on MVP because if MVP comes over here and let's just say Mike Perry knocks his ass out. Mike Perry got let go from the UFC. It's not with Bellator. He's with Bare Knuckle FC. Now, granted, he's got paid to go over there. But think about if MVP goes over there and let's just say Mike Perry knocks him out. Doesn't look good for him when he goes back over to Bellator because he hasn't fought the most great competition in Bellator either. So this fight really interests me. We were just talking about that with Britain Hart Beltran when she was on our show. And yeah, that fight's going to be interesting if nothing else.
Who's the MVP you guys are talking about right now?
Michael Venom Page.
Oh, he's a showboat when he fights, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like that guy. I don't know why.
I've never.
When you put him up against the right competition, he's so fun to watch. But that's the key to Michael Venom Page is who he's fighting.
That's why I was saying I feel like in Bellator, in a lot of ways, they kind of put him in fights where it was somebody who was going to stand with him, somebody that was going to play to his strengths. Because Michael Venom Page, I think the key to beating him, I think most people would agree, would be getting him to the ground. Like I said, dude can fight. I've never been the biggest fan because to me, like, I got no problem with somebody showboating, obviously being a pro wrestling fan. But to me, especially for how long he's been in MMA, I feel like they've picked his fights too much. Just my opinion.
Well, dude, you got to sell something. You can't just everybody that comes through just chokes them out. Nobody gets to
yeah, but what I mean by what I say with that is like, okay, yeah, he's built up this highlight reel of cool knockouts. But when you actually go and look at the caliber of competition that he's fought, you can't realistically put him in a title picture at all because he's not beaten a ton of the top guys, even in the rankings there in Bellator. That's another thing with Bellator, like Bellator's rankings, like UFC's rankings are shit too, but like Bellator's rankings, man, like you never really know who's like, it's not like a number 5 versus a number 2 or anything like that. Like, I love Bellator. But with that being said, I do think that a lot of the fights that Michael Venom Page has had, being that the majority of his career has been in Bellator, I think a lot of his matchups kind of placated more to his style, in my opinion.
Is there any chance for the MVP to go to the UFC?
No, because he's still under contract with Bellator, and now I think from what I read, they said this bare knuckle fight's only a 1-fight deal.
Oh, he's going to bare knuckle boxing
now.
They're fighting in bare knuckle, so it's Mike Perry versus him. Mike Perry from the UFC versus him in bare knuckle.
Bare knuckle's a little bit more explosive.
I personally like bare knuckle boxing a lot more. I love that. I think it's a great idea.
I mean, it's been around forever, dude. I mean, you watch England and all that stuff too. And the thing I like about Bare Knuckle FC versus some of the other federations that you've seen do it, I really like the implementation of the clinch, to be honest. I think it kind of like evens the playing field in some ways for MMA guys and MMA girls. Because, in boxing a lot, like you notice when they get tied up in a clinch and those kind of things, you don't really see as much action with it. But then on other hands, you can see, like, sometimes you'll see it where you got one guy who's just banging a guy to the body, socking him in the head while they're clinched up. Here, now you can get that good tie clung and, yank it around. Like the one that I think of is the one, I was watching, they fought this past weekend too. I actually got to go back and watch those fights. But Chris Lieben, had one of the nastiest knockouts I've seen with one of those clinches like that. Had homie by the one tie clung, one collar tie, and just getting them with them uppercuts, and you're able to hold them and just keep cracking them. So I like that. I like that implementation into it. So it's not just the straight boxing end, because I think they had to do that in a lot of ways, because a lot of the people you see in Bare Knuckle FC are all kind of crossing over from MMA.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. And being able, I didn't know you were able to just take them into the clinch and beat the shit out of them and knock them out in the clinch.
You had to be punching. As soon as you lock your hands together like a body lock, the referee's supposed to separate it. But if you have one hand and you're still punching, even if it's to the body or the head or whatever, the ref's supposed to let it keep going.
Okay. That's
And
fucking pretty
T-Rub
cool.
doesn't know this, but we've got a new light heavyweight champ in the new UFC.
Who?
Yes. Yuri Prochazka.
The guy with the thick ass ponytail?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, dude. I didn't know that. That's
Can I
cool.
just say that I feel so bad for Glover because I feel like if that would have went to decision, I feel like Glover wins that fight.
I haven't been able to see it yet. I haven't watched it yet.
I watched the whole thing. Me and Corey did. We'll be talking about it this Tuesday at 9 on Knockouts and 3 Counts. But
Yeah, JJ
dude,
retired too.
yeah, dude, I lost my parlay on that fight. But
Did she win?
no, she got knocked out, like face planted, like out.
Did she have a title?
No.
Nope. Oh, okay.
No, this is her first fight in like almost a year and a half at least.
It's been a long time, yeah.
I got a question for you, Kyle.
Yeah.
What's the future for Knockouts and 3 Counts? What do you got in hold for the future? What are your goals for the future?
I'd like to get us some more sponsors and stuff. Shout out to the guys who were sponsoring us for a little while. Our guys at G3 Payroll and our buddies at Stransky Realty and all that kind of stuff. That was cool. Like I'd like to really, dude, I just want to continue to expand. I want to continue to get big guests on there. I want to get people. I want to continue to shoot shots and get people that maybe I didn't think could get on there, or people are out the way. I'd like to. I kind of set a goal at the beginning of this year, like that's why you see us around more at like RPW and things like that too. A lot of our show was based. I mean, like when we first started, we were one of the ones that we're one of the few that would talk about MMA, wrestling, and the indies and all that stuff too. So I really, in the last year, have been trying to like keep a good mix of. One day you could see an indie wrestler on there. One day you could see a fighter on there. One day you could see a fighter from the regional scene. One day you could see a chick from Bare Knuckle. You never know who it is.
Yep.
And then I've gotten to have, Chris Kale from Five Finger on there. I really would like to kind of bring him back on when their new album comes out. I'd like to get something done with Zoltan because a lot of people don't know Zoltan is a world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. So I think I could really do something cool with him as well. Honestly, dude, what interests me the most with the show is I want it to continue to grow, and I want to continue to have like the interesting shows, the shows that I didn't think could come through, ones that other people didn't come through. Some of those probably haven't even come to mind yet, but I just want to continue to shoot for, as many big guests as I can. But at the same time, I hope that our platform, can bring a light to, the guys on the indies, bring some look, dude, when I go to these other states, like this is a fact. He can tell you himself, the 7 Mile Destroyer, Isaiah Broner. I knew he was coming to Texas before he went to Texas because I had worked with that promotion. When I went there, I told him like, look, bro, I'm telling you, you're going to like what you get from these guys. I hope that we see more of the Michigan guys continue to, make their way out across the country and things like that too. I just, like I said, more than anything, I just hope it continues to grow. I hope at some point I would really like for broadcasting to maybe become more of a career for me instead of just a side hustle. And for me personally, I'd like to do some more commentary stuff. I got to do it in college. I've gotten to do college wrestling stuff for my old college. That's cool. But I'd really like to kind of get in and start doing some pro wrestling stuff. I'd love to get in and do some MMA and boxing.
Sit next to Joe Rogan.
Hey, shit, I think I could do it. I honestly believe I could do as good a job as my damn Siri's trying to talk, so I don't know if you heard any of that. But yeah, I feel like I can do as good a job as any of them that are on there. I feel like I can bring entertainment to it. So that's something that I've really always kind of wanted to do. I didn't think I would be good at commentary until I've done the college wrestling thing. And like, I had never done commentary and I called over 50 matches the first time I ever did it. So it's like, now you get thrown in like that. So it's like, now I just want to expand in my horizons, dude. Like I want to continue to, I want to be out there. I want Knockouts and 3 Counts really so here's the best goal I can give you. I hope that with our continued growth, I hope Knockouts and 3 Counts becomes one of like the faces of when people think of, okay, we're bringing wrestling or MMA or boxing to Michigan. Knockouts and 3 Counts is one of the people that can tell us about it. I hope that we can be somebody that when people look at the Michigan scene, whether it's wrestling, MMA, or boxing, you call this pillar talk. Hopefully we can be one of the pillars for Michigan.
That'd be sweet, dude. That'd be sweet. That's the whole thing. That's why we interview people like you, man. We interview the pillars of our community. That's how we do it. And we just want to know how you guys strive to do better and strive to better yourselves every day. I got a few more things to ask you, and then we're gonna off here. Can you plug yourself in anywhere we can find you, anywhere we can find Knockouts and 3 Counts?
Hell yeah. You can find me at Detroit Knockout, Detroit NOKOUT. You can find me on Xbox at Detroit Knockout. Now you know where my Twitter handle came from, but you can find Knockouts and 3 Counts at KO3C Pod, Twitter, Instagram, all that good shit. And on YouTube, please, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff, do me a favor. Go hit that subscribe button. You never know who's going to come in on the other end of that link. And, we're talking about all these things and all these places that we've gone to go travel to these shows. There's a nice, beautiful new vlog that's up there from my trip to Vegas. So you can see me get my ass kicked by the guy that got John Moxley in shape. Enjoy your Sunday.
Enjoy your Sunday. All right. I got one more question for you and we're going to get out of here.
Hell yeah.
Last thing, if you had one last thing to say to the world, what are you saying?
Look, man, we're all going through some shit. Everybody in this world has got some stuff going on. Don't matter if you're talking about from the president to the dude that's living on the corner. Best thing I can tell you, and this is just from what I've learned in the last year, man, I really hope that we as a nation can get to a place that ain't about politics, ain't about shit. Look, dude, if you don't want to look out for the next person there, look out for the guy that's next to you, look out for your neighbor, look out for your family, look out for whatever it is. If we as a nation can't get to a place where we start looking at that, dude, we're going to be in trouble. So I guess the last thing I would say would just be, dude, enjoy your life, man. It can be over tomorrow. Don't be a dickhead. It's real simple.
Yep. Everybody love everybody. All right, man. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on up and telling us about your story, bro. Everybody go subscribe to Knockouts and 3 Counts on YouTube, bro. Thank you so much for coming up. That is it for episode 117, guys. You guys have a wonderful day.
Brought to you by Brain Jerk. Fuck yeah.
I'm